Bahij Chancey held a sign with photographs of Nicholas Francis Cleves during a vigil in Foley Square in Manhattan on Wednesday. Mr. Cleves was one of 8 people killed in a terrorist attack in the city the day before. Andres Kudaki, Associated Press, a mother of 2 from Belgium who had come to New York with her mother and 2 sisters. A young computer scientist from Manhattan, a financial worker from New Jersey, and 10 Argentine men in New York to celebrate the 30th high school reunion. Together they shared a bustling bicycle path along the Hudson River in Manhattan on a brisk, sunny Tuesday afternoon. Then, just after 3 p.m., a man rammed a pickup truck down the path, killing 8 people in what has been described as the deadliest terror attack in the city since September 11, 2001. The rampage unfolded north of the World Trade Center and ended about 20 blocks south when the driver, Sayfullo Saipov, 29, slammed the pickup truck into a school bus, the authorities said, and jumped at the truck before being shot by a New York City police officer. The Argentine visitors bore the brunt of the bloodshed. 5 of the dead had traveled to New York from Rosario, a city northwest of Buenos Aires, to celebrate the 30th high school reunion. In all, 6 of the dead were tourists, underscoring New York City's role as a tourist mecca for people from all corners of the globe. The 2 other victims were from much closer. One lived just blocks from where he was killed. And Darren Drake, 32, lived with his parents across the Hudson River in a New Jersey suburb. Mr. Drake's father, Jimmy Drake, said it was routine for his son, a project manager at Moody's Analytics, to bike along the Hudson River during work breaks. He was fascinated by ancient history and would listen to books on tape as he pedaled, his father said. He loved reading, he loved exercising on a bike, he loved his job, Mr. Drake said. He loved his life. Darren Drake, from his Facebook page, Mr. Drake said his son graduated from Rutgers University, and later became a member of the school board in the town where he lived, New Milford, eventually serving as vice president. He was studying for another master's degree, his father said. Every night, he returned home to have dinner with his parents, entertaining them with facts from his audiobooks. Above all, he loved vacationing on cruise ships, having gone on 14 voyages, Mr. Drake said. He had recently lost 93 pounds after lap band surgery, overcoming his passion for all-you-can-eat cruise ship buffets and Italian food, he said. He also had a fondness for the lottery and casinos. His father said he was into everything that was either illegal, impractical or fattening, he said with a laugh. About 20 miles away from the Drake home, in Manhattan, reporters gathered in front of a large dormant building on Greenwich Street, the home of Nicholas Francis Cleves, who was also killed in the attack. Mr. Cleves, 24, attended the Little Red Schoolhouse in the West Village, and Elizabeth Irwin High School, a private school in Greenwich Village, before graduating from Skidmore College. Phil Casson, the director of Little Red Schoolhouse and Elizabeth Irwin, described him as what a teacher wants in class: hardworking, interested, a generous classmate, an interested member of activities and discussions. Nicola was always happy and curious and helpful, he said. Mr. Cleves was a computer science major at Skidmore, and friends remembered his interest in video games and robotics. From left, Hernan Ferrucci, Alejandro Panuco, Ariel Ole, Ivan Brajkovic, Juan Pablo Trevisan, Hernan Mendoza, Diego Angelini and Ariel Benvenuto on Saturday at the airport in Rosario, Argentina, before leaving for New York. Mr. Ferrucci, Mr. Panuco, Mr. Ole, Mr. Mendoza and Mr. Angelini were killed in the attack. Trevisan family. Via Associated Press: from a young age I have been deeply interested in computers, gadgets, video games, and programming as an art form, he wrote on LinkedIn. Alex Silverstein, the owner of Unified Digital, a software company where Mr. Cleves worked for 2 years until recently, said he was hired as an intern and swiftly promoted to staff. Mr. Cleves was deeply humble and had a gift for dealing with even the most frustrated of customers. He was fascinated by emerging technology, and spoke excitedly about the handful of Tesla stock he bought, of his admiration for its founder, Elon Musk, and Bitcoin. It's about the promise, Mr. Silverstein said. He is like the future of programming and software, and now he's gone, he added. I feel like I've been robbed, Mr. Casson said that Mr. Cleves had worked for Little Red Schoolhouse and Elizabeth Irwin after he went to Skidmore, helping with technical support. Mr. Cleves was at the school last Saturday, setting up computers for a meeting at the school, Mr. Casson said. Mr. Cleves also listed himself as the web developer for CX Design, a company in Soho owned by his parents that sells hand-blown Italian glass. His father, Richard Cleves, wrote on the company's website that he and Nicholas had ridden in the New York Century Bicycle Tour, which is promoted as the only urban 100-mile bike tour in the country. CX Design's website says that Richard Cleves arrived in New York and soon met Monica Missio, who was a neighbor on the Lower East Side. Eventually they moved to Greenwich Village, to a building close to where their son died. On Tuesday night, Argentine government officials identified the 5 victims who lived in Argentina as Hernan Mendoza, Diego Angelini, Alejandro Panuco, Ariel Erle and Hernan Ferrucci, all of whom had graduated from the Instituto Politécnico Superior in Rosario. Anne-Laurie Decat. The other victim was Anne-Laurie Decat, 31, of Belgium, who had come to New York with her mother and 2 sisters, according to her husband, Alexander Naessens, who shared information about his wife with Francesco van der Jouged, the mayor of Steden, a village south of Bruges where she lived. Mr. Naessens said he received a call from officials at New York Presbyterian Hospital less than an hour after the attack and was told that his wife had died. He said she was riding a bicycle near the Hudson River with her family when she was struck. "This loss is unbearable and incomprehensible," he said. "She was a fantastic wife and the most wonderful mother of our 2 little sons of 3 months and 3 years old. She worked for Ardo, a Belgian frozen food production company, and worked with youth groups," the mayor said. "It's hard to imagine that someone who goes on a holiday can be taken out of life so brutally," Mr. van der Jouged said on Flemish radio. On Wednesday, Darren Drake's parents drove from their home to Manhattan to identify the son's body. The morgue, his father said, was 3 blocks from the hospital where his son was born. "Looking at your son in a morgue, with the scars in black and blue," Jimmy Drake said. "I didn't see my son of 32 years of age. I saw a newborn." Milan Schroyer contributed reporting from Belgium and Jeffrey C. Mays. Sean Piccoli and William K. Rashbaum contributed reporting from New York. A version of this article appears in print on November 2, 2017, on page 820 of the New York edition with the headline "Remembering 8 Lives Lost in Rampage by the River."